Beloved, chosen one, heaven has pressed pause on everything around you so you could hear this. You are standing at the edge of destiny, one breath away from what will define your eternity. The atmosphere around you is not ordinary, it is sacred. Even now, angels lean close, waiting to record the decision that will come from your heart. This is not a random scroll through a screen. This is the divine voice cutting through the noise, reaching for you one last time before you decide. You have felt it for weeks, something stirring in the unseen, a gentle pressure in your chest, a restlessness that keeps you awake at night. That is not anxiety. That is calling. You have outgrown your comfort zone, and heaven refuses to let you settle. You were never meant to blend in with the crowd, never meant to drift among those who have no vision. You carry the mark of the chosen. You have seen too much, felt too much, and survived too much to turn back now. The world offers its easy exits: distraction, pleasure, denial, but none of them satisfy. You have tried to quiet the ache, to silence the whisper of purpose that keeps returning, but it keeps breaking through the surface. It is not guilt, it is grace trying to get your attention. For even now, mercy stands at the threshold, waiting for your yes. The divine hand is still extended, even though the door of opportunity grows narrower by the day. Listen carefully. The decision before you is not about comfort. It is about calling. You are standing between two realities, the one that drains your spirit and the one that restores it. You already know which is which. Deep down, your spirit has seen a glimpse of the life you could live if you truly surrendered. A life marked by power, peace, and divine alignment. But to step into it, you must choose. As was written long ago in the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15, "Choose you this day whom ye will serve." Those words are not history, they are a mirror held before you now. Heaven does not demand perfection, only surrender. Every time you delayed obedience, grace covered you. But grace is not a license to drift, it is an invitation to return. The Spirit of God still whispers your name, still sees the light inside you that the world tried to bury. Chosen one, the heavens are waiting for your response, not with anger, but with expectation. The same power that parted seas, that raised the dead, that broke prison chains, is ready to move in your life. But it requires a choice. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot live divided between the sacred and the shallow. You must declare where you stand. This is the moment before the moment, the silence before thunder, the breath before transformation. Every divine story begins with one act of obedience. Abraham left everything. Moses said yes to the impossible. Esther stepped forward when silence could have been safer. Every chosen one faced the same question: will you obey when it costs you everything? Now it is your turn. Heaven has not forgotten your tears. The Lord saw the nights when you cried out, "Why me?" And the answer, though painful, was always the same: because you are chosen. You were designed to be a vessel of light in a generation drowning in darkness. Your struggles were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to prove that you are unbreakable. Before you decide, pause and feel this truth. You are not here by accident. This message found you because heaven still believes in you. The Lord still calls you his own. Do not silence that whisper inside you. That stirring is divine proof that you are not beyond reach. You are standing on holy ground right now. wherever you are. So, hear the voice beyond these words. Heaven is asking for your yes, not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready, but now. Every moment of hesitation feeds your fear, but every moment of surrender fuels your destiny. The choice before you is not about rules, it is about relationship. Not religion, but restoration. Look up. The same God who split the sea for Moses, who shut the mouths of lions for Daniel, who raised Lazarus from the grave, he is the one calling your name. Do not walk away from the door that mercy has opened. Step through it. Leave the old behind. The next chapter of your life begins with this single decision. Now, chosen one, if this message reached the deepest part of your spirit, let it be known. Comment below with the number 77, a prophetic act declaring, I choose my calling. Like, share, and subscribe so that this message continues to awaken others who are standing where you once stood. The world may not understand what has just happened, but heaven does. You are seen. You are chosen. You are standing at the edge of everything you were created for. You feel it, the stillness between decisions, the sacred pause where your soul trembles between surrender and resistance. Heaven has gone quiet, not because God has left you, but because He is waiting for your heart to catch up to His voice. The noise of the world has tried to drown Him out. You scroll, you listen, you move, but deep within, a holy silence begins to grow. It is in that silence where destinies are shaped. The weight of it is almost unbearable, yet within it lies the seed of transformation. Chosen one. There are moments when God hides His voice not to punish you, but to purify your hearing. When you cannot feel Him, it does not mean He is gone. It means He is training you to recognize His presence beyond emotion. He is teaching you that faith is not a feeling, it is a knowing. There is divine purpose, even in the quiet. Because the quiet exposes what the noise could hide. In the stillness, truth rises to the surface. You remember the last time you heard Him clearly, the whisper that told you to forgive, to walk away, to trust, to begin again. You obeyed for a season, and then came the silence. It frightened you. You thought maybe you had failed, that your connection had been cut off. But heaven was merely adjusting its strategy. The teacher is always silent during the test, not because he has abandoned you, but because he trusts what he already placed within you. Every chosen one endures this space, the gap between instruction and fulfillment. Abraham waited in silence for the promise of Isaac. David hid in caves while carrying a king's anointing. Jesus himself faced silence in Gethsemane, when even his closest friends could not stay awake to comfort him. The divine story has always been written in whispers, not shouts. This silence is sacred. It is where God begins to separate your dependency on noise from your dependency on His Spirit. When the applause fades, when affirmation disappears, when no one notices your obedience, that is where the roots of faith grow the deepest. You may not hear thunder, but you are standing in the middle of revelation. The whisper in your heart is God saying, "Be still. I am not done with you." As we are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." That command is not passive, it is warfare. It is the stillness of surrender, not stagnation. To be still means to stop fighting battles that belong to God. to release your desperate need to control the outcome. It means silence your fears, your opinions, your arguments, and let His sovereignty breathe. In the quiet, you begin to hear what was always there: peace, clarity, direction. Chosen one, you must learn to sit in this silence until it stops feeling like absence and starts feeling like intimacy. The enemy wants you to panic in the pause, to mistake delay for denial. But heaven delays only to align. Every unanswered question is a test of trust. When you cannot trace His hand, you must trust His heart. You may not realize it, but something within you is growing stronger through this unseen process. The fire of impatience is burning away your need for external validation. The silence is removing the idols of approval that once held your worth hostage. God is not ignoring you, He is deepening you. You are learning to breathe again, not through your mind, but through your spirit. Every prophet, every servant, every chosen one has walked this road. They all faced the wilderness, where the only sound was their own heartbeat echoing against heaven's quiet sky. And every single one of them emerged with a voice sharper, clearer, and holier than before. So will you. When you feel that ache of distance, remember, distance is an illusion. God is closer in the silence than He ever was in the noise. You will find Him not in the chaos, but in the calm after the storm. That is why you feel this holy weight pressing against your chest. It is not emptiness. It is presence without performance. Do not rush out of this season. The silence is teaching you what no sermon could. It is teaching you how to hear the still, small voice, the one that will guide you when the storms come again. When God speaks next, it will not be to comfort your fear, but to confirm your purpose. So breathe. Release the urgency. Let the quiet become your sanctuary. Rest your mind. The same God who called you in the noise will sustain you in the silence. The whisper you long for is already within you, waiting to be recognized. When the time is right, that whisper will grow into a roar. Until then, let stillness become your worship. Let peace become your proof that He is near. For in this holy pause, the heavens are not closed, they are closer than ever. You remember that voice, the one that called your name when no one else saw your pain, the one that found you in the middle of chaos, whispering peace into the storm. It didn't come through thunder or fire, but through a softness that pierced deeper than sound. That voice was not imagination, it was divine recognition. It has followed you through every valley, through every betrayal, through every moment you thought you were forgotten. And even now, that same voice is calling again. Chosen one. The call of God is relentless. You may have drifted, but His voice never stopped reaching. He speaks not to condemn you, but to remind you of who you are. You are not just surviving, you are being summoned. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. That inner stirring, that sudden awareness, that tear you couldn't explain, that is heaven's frequency breaking through your walls. Do you remember the moment you first felt seen, when you thought it was over? And yet something whispered, "Hold on," that was Him, the shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one. The same voice that said, "Let there be light," is still speaking light into your darkness. It has never stopped echoing. You heard it when you were a child, innocent and unburdened. You heard it again in heartbreak, when everything crumbled. And yet something inside told you to rise. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." That is not just a verse, it is your story, written in heaven's ink. You have heard his voice before, but the noise of life made you question it. You thought, maybe that was just my thoughts. But no, chosen one, that was the same voice that calmed storms, that healed the broken, that raised the dead. It speaks now, not from the sky, but from within. The Spirit of God does not shout. He calls with authority wrapped in tenderness. There are many voices in the world, voices of fear, doubt, pride, and distraction, but there is only one that feels like home. It is the one that doesn't flatter, doesn't pressure, doesn't manipulate. It calls you by your true name, the one written before you were born. That voice doesn't tell you what you want to hear. It tells you what will make you whole. When you stop running, when you finally let silence settle around you, that voice grows louder. It speaks in scripture, in stillness, in divine interruption. Sometimes through a stranger's words, sometimes through a dream, sometimes through the ache in your heart that won't fade. The voice of God is creative. It knows how to reach you. And right now, it is doing exactly that. You have tried to silence it before, haven't you? You drowned it with distractions, buried it under busyness, but it waited. The voice of heaven never forces, it invites. It never manipulates, it woos. Even when you ignored it, grace followed you. Even when you rebelled, mercy trailed behind, whispering, "You're not done yet." That is why this message found you now. It is not random, it is divine timing. God has been calling you for years, but this time feels different, doesn't it? That is because the season has shifted. The same gentle tone now carries urgency. Heaven is not asking if you're ready, it is declaring that it is time. You may say, "But I failed." Yet the voice replies, "You're still mine." You may say, "I'm not worthy." And he says, "My grace is enough." You may whisper, "I'm afraid." And he answers, "Fear not, for I am with you." This dialogue between your brokenness and his love has been happening for longer than you realize. Every time you wept alone, he heard. Every time you almost gave up, he spoke courage into your soul. The world calls it coincidence. Heaven calls it conversation. Listen if you lean in. You can almost feel it right now, can't you? That soft warmth rising in your spirit. That trembling awareness that you are being spoken to again. The same voice that shaped galaxies is addressing you personally. The same voice that breathed life into Adam is breathing strength back into your spirit. This is the turning point. This is not the time to argue with destiny. This is the time to answer. When God speaks, creation responds. Will you? Now, take a breath. Let the noise fade. Listen again, not with your ears, but with your heart. What do you hear? It's not just words. It's identity being restored. It's peace returning where fear once ruled. If this moment pierced something inside you, if you recognize that voice calling your name once more, declare it aloud and seal it in the comments. I hear you. Those 3 words are not for visibility. They are an act of alignment. Every time you write them, you echo heaven's truth that the shepherd's voice has reached his chosen again. And with that simple response, The distance between you and divine purpose begins to dissolve. The voice is still calling. The question is, will you answer? Mercy still stands at the door, quiet but unwavering, waiting for your response. The world thinks mercy is weakness, but you know better. You've felt it chasing you through storms, reaching you in moments you thought were too dark to redeem. Mercy is not passive, it is persistent love refusing to let go. It waits even when you wander, and it knocks even when you close every door. You see, grace finds you where you are, but mercy waits to see what you will do next. Every time you delayed, it didn't withdraw, it lingered. Every time you doubted, it whispered, "Still, come." But the window of invitation does not remain open forever. There is a holy moment between mercy and consequence, a sacred space where heaven holds its breath, waiting for your yes. You are standing in that space now, chosen one. God is not in a hurry, but the hour is moving. Heaven's patience is deep, yet it is not endless. The same mercy that calls is also the same justice that warns. When the Spirit begins to stir your heart, that is not random emotion, that is divine urgency. It is heaven saying, now is the time. There is a moment when grace shifts from invitation to accountability, and that moment draws near. You have felt the knocking in your spirit before, the sudden conviction, the quiet pull, the undeniable sense that something eternal is at stake. It wasn't fear, it was truth breaking through the fog. You tried to distract yourself, telling your heart that it was just a feeling. But God doesn't visit hearts by accident. He visits to prepare them for transformation. There are two doors in front of you, the door of surrender and the door of resistance. One opens to peace, purpose, and restoration. The other leads to delay, distance, and decline. The door of mercy is not locked, but it will not wait forever. There comes a time when God stops knocking, not out of anger, but because he honors your choice. The voice of God thundered long ago in the revelation of John, chapter 3, verse 20, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." The problem is not that God is silent, it's that we often don't want to answer the question he's asking. Will you follow me? He doesn't ask because he doesn't know the answer. He asks so that you can hear your own heart speak it. Mercy is not a feeling. It's a covenant. It's the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. It covers the distance between rebellion and redemption. It waits on the porch of your spirit, lantern in hand, whispering, "Come home." But the light outside that door is fading. The call grows softer, not because he's farther away, but because the noise of the world keeps rising. Distraction is the weapon of this generation. It numbs conviction and convinces you there's always more time. Yet history shows that moments of mercy are fleeting. The people of Noah laughed at the ark until the rain began. The rich young ruler turned away because his possessions felt safer than surrender. Each thought they had time. None of them did. This is not meant to frighten you. It's meant to awaken you. Mercy is not a threat, it's a gift. But even gifts have seasons. When mercy is extended, it means heaven believes there is still hope for change. When it begins to withdraw, it means time has run its course. The longer you wait, the dimmer that voice becomes, not because God grows cold, but because your heart grows calloused. Chosen one, this is not condemnation, it is an alarm. Mercy is still here, still knocking, still reaching. But one day, the knocking will stop. One day, silence will replace invitation, not because heaven stopped loving you, but because mercy fulfilled its purpose and moved aside for justice to begin. Right now, you still have what kings and prophets longed for, another chance. Don't let familiarity numb you to its worth. Every heartbeat is an echo of God saying, "You still have time." Every sunrise is a reminder that grace won the argument against judgment once again. You stand before the door. The handle is within reach. You can choose to open it or you can walk away. But know this, nothing on the other side of rebellion will ever satisfy you again. The taste of divine calling will ruin your appetite for mediocrity. The one who has heard his voice can never truly forget it. So stand there, in this holy stillness, and realize what mercy means. It is heaven's last light before the night. It is love knocking softly, one last time, waiting to see if you will answer. The world will always offer a softer chair, a sweeter lie, a temporary calm that disguises corrosion. You have felt it, the counterfeit comfort that promises peace but delivers numbness. It is the gentle trap of distraction, the velvet chain that feels too soft to notice until you realize it has stolen your strength. The enemy does not always roar. Sometimes he whispers. Rest here a while, knowing that stillness in the wrong place becomes slow surrender. Chosen one, you were never meant for lukewarm living. Your spirit is too awake for empty ease. You've tasted the world's promises, and though they glittered, they left you hollow. The attention, the pleasure, the validation, it all fades like smoke, leaving behind a thirst only the divine can quench. There's a reason why temporary comfort feels heavy after a while. Your soul knows it wasn't designed for cages padded with pleasure. You carry a light that cannot coexist with artificial glow. Every false comfort you cling to dims that light. The world tells you to chase happiness, but heaven calls you to pursue holiness. Because true peace is not found in escape, it's found in alignment. The Spirit spoke through the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verse 36. What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? That question pierces like lightning. What is the price of your peace? What is the worth of your worship? The world keeps offering trades: your time for status, your purity for pleasure, your focus for noise. Yet each exchange leaves you emptier than before. The counterfeit comfort of this world is like drinking salt water. It promises satisfaction, but only deepens the thirst. You may not realize it, but the false peace you keep reaching for is the very thing blocking your real restoration. Sometimes the greatest spiritual battle is not against pain, but against comfort. Pain reminds you that you need healing. Comfort convinces you that you don't. The softest pillows can lull you into the deepest spiritual sleep. But God is shaking you awake. The illusion is fading, and with it comes clarity. You were not made for quiet despair behind smiling masks. You were made to roar with purpose, to carry light through shadowed places, to transform the atmosphere around you simply by standing in truth. Imagine your soul as a garden. Every distraction is a weed. Every compromise is a stone choking the roots. And yet, mercy keeps sending rain. Grace keeps breaking the soil open, saying, "There is still beauty here, if you will allow it." Heaven will pull out what never belonged and make space for what must grow. but you must stop watering what weakens you. There is a reason this message finds you now. You are standing between two altars, one of comfort, one of calling. One is decorated with gold, but its fire has gone out. The other burns bright, though it asks for your whole heart. The world tells you to choose what looks easy. Heaven whispers, choose what brings life. And as you choose, remember voices like these, words that reach across distance to remind you who you are carried by many hands. Each message is a seed planted in digital soil, watered by faith, grown through your engagement. When you like, you lift the message higher for others who need to hear what you're hearing now. When you share, you become a vessel heaven, using your small gesture to ignite someone else's awakening. When you subscribe, you anchor yourself in a flow of truth that refuses to let you drift back into darkness. And for those who feel stirred to go beyond, those who sense that they are not just receiving, but also called to sustain this light, your donation becomes more than support. It becomes incense, rising into heaven's economy, like the widow's oil that never ran dry. What you pour out will multiply in ways unseen. Your generosity is not just financial, it is prophetic partnership, a sign to heaven that you believe this flame must keep burning. Do not underestimate the power of your simple act. One click, one share, one gift, it is a ripple across eternity. You are not funding a message, you are fueling a movement. The same light that just reached you can reach another soul lost in noise because you helped carry it forward. Chosen one, you are part of something divine. The counterfeit comfort of this world cannot compare to the warmth of knowing you are helping light pierce through darkness. Let your heart respond in whatever way truth compels you. The seed you sow in sincerity becomes a voice echoing long after this moment ends. You are not just a listener, you are a keeper of fire. The ground beneath you has been shaking not to destroy you, but to wake you. What you thought was collapse was actually construction. Heaven has been rearranging the foundation of your life, removing what cannot stand in the next season. Every tremor you felt, every unexpected loss, every moment of confusion, it was not punishment, it was purification. You are being refined, not rejected. Chosen one, you have prayed for elevation. But before God builds up, He always digs deep. The shaking is heaven's architecture in motion. It reveals where the cracks are, where false security has been hiding, where you've built too much on what was never meant to last. You thought things were falling apart, but in truth, they were falling into place. You are being separated from comfort, from compromise, from counterfeit stability. The Spirit knows that if you stood on the wrong foundation, your blessing would crush you instead of carrying you. So, everything that could be shaken, every lie, every attachment, every idol has begun to tremble. The noise is not chaos, it's the sound of heaven removing what doesn't belong. As it is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 26, "Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven." This shaking is not random, it's relational. Heaven is aligning your outer world with your inner calling. You prayed for breakthrough, and this is what it looks like. Breakthrough often arrives as disruption. God cannot pour new wine into old skins. He must stretch you, strip you, and remake you to carry what's next. The storms you're enduring are not meant to sink you. They are meant to reveal what still floats when everything else is gone. Think of an earthquake. It shakes what was built carelessly, but what is anchored deep remains. So it is with your spirit. The shallow parts of your life, the habits, the distractions, the relationships not rooted in truth cannot survive divine movement. God loves you too much to let you build a kingdom of sand. You may be asking, why does it hurt so much? Because growth always requires breaking. The seed breaks before it blooms. The cocoon tears before the butterfly flies. The soil splits before water reaches the roots. In every shaking, God is revealing what is eternal. You are being purified for power. And as the shaking continues, remember, not all loss is tragedy. Some loss is mercy in disguise. The people who walked away were not stolen, they were removed. The doors that closed were not rejection, they were redirection. Heaven never subtracts without a reason. Sometimes it takes an earthquake to expose what your eyes refuse to see. You are being prepared for stability in a world that is collapsing. While others chase platforms, you are being built for permanence. Your obedience during this shaking will determine the strength of what comes next. God is not breaking you down, He is breaking you open. He is creating room for glory. Chosen one, do not curse what heaven is using to cleanse. The tremors are proof that the ground beneath you is alive. God shakes what He intends to strengthen. When the dust settles, you will see that nothing eternal was lost, only the things that couldn't handle your destiny. There will be moments when you feel as if you are standing in ruins. But even in ruins, resurrection begins. The shaking is making space for rebuilding. What looks like rubble now will become revelation later. You will understand why every stone had to move. So breathe through the shaking. Let the fear fall off. Let the noise fade. You are safe in the hands of the builder. The same God who allows the shaking holds the blueprint. You may not see it, but He does. Every fracture, every fault line, every tremor is accounted for. Nothing is wasted. This is the divine paradox. You are being unsettled so you can finally stand firm. You are being shaken so you can no longer be moved. The same ground that quakes beneath your feet will one day testify of your endurance. What others see as chaos, heaven sees as calibration. When the shaking is over, you will realize that what remains is stronger than what was lost. Your roots will be deeper, your peace unshakable, your faith unbreakable. The world may tremble, but you will stand as a pillar, unmoved and unafraid. If this word resonates with the tremor in your own life, if you recognize that this shaking is not destruction but divine construction, then let heaven see your acknowledgement. Comment the number 444 below a prophetic act symbolizing divine alignment, the settling of your spirit after the storm. When you do, you're declaring, I am aligned with heaven's shaking. It is not superstition, it is agreement. Every number you type is a spiritual signature saying, God, I trust the rebuilding. The shaking will end, the dust will clear, and what stands afterward will be you refined, restored, and ready for glory. Fire has a way of revealing truth that comfort never can. It does not ask for permission, it simply arrives, consuming, cleansing, clarifying. You may not have realized it at first, but the season you are walking through is not one of destruction, it is one of refinement. The flames around you are not hell's attack, they are heaven's tool. Chosen one, When the fire finds you, it comes not to end you, but to expose what can no longer stay hidden. It burns away imitation strength, false attachments, pride disguised as confidence. Fire does not destroy gold, it defines it. Every spark, every heat wave, every sleepless night under pressure is a divine refiner's touch upon your life. You asked God to use you. You prayed for power, purity, and purpose. What you did not realize was that those prayers invite fire. Before the crown comes the crucible. Before the anointing flows freely, the vessel must be purified. That is why you have felt the intensity increasing. Heaven has turned the temperature up, not to punish you, but to prepare you. We find in the sacred words of the prophet Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, "He shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." That verse paints a picture both beautiful and severe. The refiner does not walk away from the fire, he sits beside it. He watches over it, adjusting the heat with wisdom. The metal never melts unattended. God is not standing far away from your trial. He is closer now than ever. His eye is on the process, his hand steady on the flame. The fire feels personal because it is. It touches every place where pretense has lived. It exposes motives, burns away fears, melts the walls you've built to keep others out. And though it stings, something deeper begins to emerge: purity. You begin to recognize which relationships were real, which dreams were divine, which desires were distraction. The fire simplifies you until only truth remains. You might say, "But it hurts too much." Of course it does. Purification is pain that leads to purpose. The impurities scream as they leave. The lies you believed about yourself cannot survive the truth of who you are becoming. The things that once fit you, compromises, habits, people, versions of yourself begin to feel heavy, too tight, too small. That discomfort is not failure, it is transformation. Every chosen one faces this fire. Moses had his wilderness, Joseph had his prison, Daniel had his lions. Each flame different, but each designed to purify the vessel before divine promotion. You are in that same lineage now. The fire you face is evidence that you are being trusted with something eternal. Heaven refines only what it intends to use. There will be moments when you feel you cannot endure another degree of heat. You will cry out, "Lord, when will this end?" But remember, the refiner removes the silver only when he can see his reflection in it. When God can look at you and see his image shining back, the fire has done its work. Until then, he remains near, patient, intentional, unwavering. This fire is shaping your speech, your focus, your faith. It is changing how you pray, not out of desperation, but out of intimacy. You are learning to love God, not for his blessings, but for his presence. You are beginning to see that even pain can carry glory if it draws you closer to the one who allowed it. The people around you may not understand this stage. They might say you've changed, and they're right. Fire leaves no one untouched. But don't waste time explaining your process to those who haven't endured their own. They see smoke, you see sanctification. You are not obligated to justify what God is purifying. There will come a day when the same fire that once terrified you becomes your testimony. You will say, "I walked through flames and came out shining." You will no longer fear the heat, because you will understand it. The fire has not consumed you, it has confirmed you. And even now, deep within the blaze, you are learning a secret that only the refined ever discover, that the fire is not the enemy. The fire is the friend that strips away the unnecessary so that destiny can breathe again. Every flicker, every trial, every unexpected test is a conversation between heaven and your spirit, asking, will you trust me even here? So, stand in the glow. Let the flames finish their holy work. Lift your eyes to the refiner who sits nearby, watching over you with perfect love. The fire will not last forever, but what it leaves behind will. The ashes will tell your story, and the shine will tell his. When the fire finds you, do not run. Stay still, and let it transform you into the vessel heaven always intended you to be. For beyond this heat lies a horizon of glory that only the purified can touch. The air itself seems charged, now heavy with meaning, trembling with unseen weight. You sense it deep within. Something in the spirit has shifted. The atmosphere around you is no longer calm, it is watchful. Heaven is leaning closer, as if waiting for your response. You can almost hear it, the whisper of destiny cutting through the wind. It is not a warning born of fear, but of fierce love. This is the final warning in the wind. A divine interruption sent not to frighten you, but to wake you fully. You have been walking through moments that felt strangely aligned. Small coincidences that began stacking into patterns. Conversations that felt too timely to be random. Do not dismiss them. Heaven does not repeat itself for decoration, it does so for confirmation. The repetition you are seeing, the numbers, the dreams, the unexpected encounters is not superstition, it is synchronization. The divine is aligning your steps, calling you to pay attention before the moment passes. You may have felt unsettled lately, as though you are being stretched between what was and what must now be. That tension is holy. It is the Spirit tugging on your obedience, saying, do not delay any longer. Every chosen one reaches this point, the moment where grace stops whispering comfort and begins declaring urgency. You are in that moment now, as was spoken by the Savior in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 15. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Chosen one, this is a crossroads in your story. You are standing in the thin place between revelation and resistance. The heavens have spoken repeatedly, but the door of opportunity does not stay open forever. Divine timing is not eternal, it is precise. When heaven says move, the ground beneath you becomes sacred only for a season. To linger too long in indecision is to let purpose slip quietly away. You might think, I'll decide later. But later is a fragile illusion. The spiritual world does not wait on human schedules. The window of favor that is hovering over you now is designed for this moment, not the next. Delayed obedience is disobedience, wearing a mask of intention. You do not have infinite tomorrows to say yes to an infinite God. Every movement of wind carries a whisper, and every whisper carries a warning. Don't harden your heart. The longer you ignore that internal stirring, the quieter it becomes. Not because heaven has stopped speaking, but because the noise of compromise grows louder. The world is skilled at dulling sensitivity to the spirit. That is why this word meets you now, to cut through the fog and restore clarity before it's too late. Look around you. Can you sense how the old world is shaking morality, truth, and peace all trembling like leaves before a storm. The signs are not just in the headlines, they are in your heart. You can feel the acceleration. The wind that once brushed your face gently now howls with purpose. This is not the time to play it safe. It is the time to stand still and listen. There are seasons when heaven speaks softly, and there are seasons when it interrupts violently. You are living in the latter. The divine is not content to be an accessory in your life. It demands the throne. That is why everything else has begun to crumble. The idols that once comforted you are losing their voice. The distractions that used to soothe you are losing their taste. You are being summoned to authenticity, to a faith that costs something, a love that burns, a surrender that transforms. The wind does not warn twice in vain. Every prophetic breeze you feel now carries layers of meaning. It is God saying, I have sent signs in nature, in time, in your own spirit. Do not call them coincidence. You are hearing this not because of an algorithm, but because heaven intervened. Chosen one, feel the shift. This is not another sermon, not another message. It is a divine checkpoint. Heaven pauses everything around you so that you might hear and decide. You have seen what happens when people ignore their calling. They fade. Their flame goes out, and they live half alive. You were never created for half light. You were meant to blaze. The wind calls your name again. It moves through the corridors of your heart, whispering what you already know but haven't yet obeyed. This is not to condemn, it's to rescue. God's voice in this season may sound like disruption, but it is direction. He is not trying to break you down, He is trying to break you free. Listen again. Feel that stirring rise in your chest. The wind is speaking the same truth it has spoken since creation. Obedience is the doorway to destiny. Every time you say yes, the heavens open wider. Every time you hesitate, the window narrows. So still yourself now. Let the world fall quiet. The warning in the wind is not here to threaten, it is here to save. Those who hear it and respond will rise like flames that cannot be extinguished. Those who ignore it will wander, wondering why peace no longer visits them. Heaven is speaking again. Softly but unmistakably. The wind carries the same message to your soul. This is your moment. Do not let it pass. Every story of destiny reaches a moment of collision, a crossroad where heaven's will meets human choice. You stand there now. Everything behind you has been preparation. Everything ahead depends on what you decide. The whispers have grown louder, the signs clearer, and the tension in your spirit undeniable. This is the crossroad of obedience, the sacred intersection where your faith will speak louder than your feelings. You've been praying for clarity, but God has already spoken. Now He waits not for another prayer, but for your response. Heaven is patient, but obedience has a window. The longer you hesitate, the more fragile that window becomes. Every chosen one faces this exact threshold, the moment where the next instruction requires surrender, not understanding. You might be saying, "But I don't know what will happen if I say yes." That uncertainty is the birthplace of faith. If you knew every outcome, there would be no need for trust. The divine journey always begins with a step taken in the dark, guided only by the echo of God's promise. Abraham left his home not knowing where he was going. Peter stepped out of the boat not knowing if the water would hold him. Every miracle begins with movement. As the prophet Isaiah declared in the ancient scroll, chapter 1, Verse 19, If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. That verse carries both promise and principle. The good of the land is not automatic, it is activated by willingness. Heaven honors obedience more than talent, discipline, or intellect. You can pray with passion, but if your obedience is partial, your blessing will be too. The key is not in how much you know, but in how quickly you respond when God speaks. Chosen one. Do not underestimate the power of one act of obedience. One decision can shift generations. One surrender can break generational cycles of pain. You are not just deciding for yourself, you are writing a legacy that others will walk in. Your obedience today becomes someone else's open door tomorrow. Still, obedience will cost you. It always does. It will demand the surrender of comfort, the letting go of control, and the humility to trust what you cannot yet see. But what obedience costs in comfort, it returns in clarity. Every yes you give to God becomes a foundation stone in the kingdom He is building through you. You might think you're not ready, but readiness is not the qualification, willingness is. The moment you say yes, strength begins to flow. You are never equipped before obedience, you are equipped through it. The anointing arrives in motion, not in hesitation. The miracle meets you mid-step. Do not confuse delay with discernment. Many believers lose their moment because they overthink divine instruction. God's direction is rarely complicated, it is simply inconvenient. The test is not whether you understand it, is whether you trust. When the Spirit says move, delay becomes disobedience disguised as caution. Look at your life right now. Every opportunity that has begun to stir your spirit. Every door that feels heavy with divine possibility that is your invitation. The Lord has not been silent. He has been waiting for your courage. This is not about hearing another message. It is about acting on what you've already heard. Obedience is the bridge between revelation and fulfillment. You can hear prophecy all day, but until you obey, nothing manifests. The promise is only potential until you move. Heaven releases resources the moment you decide. That's why the enemy attacks your decision first. He fears what will happen when you finally move in obedience. You may be standing at a cliff, afraid of what's below. But the step of faith doesn't drop you, it carries you. God will not let your yes go unsupported. When your feet leave the ground, His hand appears. The crossroad you face is not meant to paralyze you, it is meant to propel you. So, listen closely. The voice that once whispered now thunders softly inside your heart. Do it now. You already know what He's asking. The delay has drained your peace because disobedience always disturbs the soul. The moment you surrender, that unrest will lift, replaced by a peace that confirms you chose right. And now, if this message has found the place in you that has been wrestling to obey, if your heart is trembling because you know heaven has spoken, then make this declaration in faith. Type these 3 words, I will obey. It is not a ritual, it is a prophetic act. Every time you write it, you declare to the atmosphere around you, my hesitation ends here. Those words carry weight, they mark a shift in the unseen. The angels who have waited for your response will move at the sound of your obedience. Heaven keeps records of surrender, and this moment will be written beside your name as the day obedience won. The crossroads stands before you. The wind is still. Heaven watches. Your yes will shake eternity. There is a realm you cannot see, yet it surrounds you constantly. It hums behind every choice, every prayer, every heartbeat. The war in the heavenlies is not fiction, it is a living reality. You, chosen one, are the battleground. Angels and darkness collide over your destiny. The warfare is not around you, it is about you. Every act of obedience, every moment of surrender, every word of faith shifts the unseen world. You do not merely live on earth, you are a participant in eternity's battle. Sometimes the resistance you face is not a sign of failure, but of significance. The moment you decided to rise, the enemy took notice. Light attracts warfare because darkness fears exposure. That is why the pressure has intensified. Why the attacks come from angles you didn't expect. You are dangerous to hell. You carry something, sacred truth, authority, and purpose, and hell cannot afford for you to realize how powerful your obedience really is. As it is written by the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers." Those words explain why the argument wasn't really about what was said, why the disappointment wasn't just coincidence, why exhaustion hits right before breakthrough. You are not fighting people, you are confronting patterns, ancient strategies designed to wear down your spirit. But take heart, for no weapon forged against you will prevail when you remember who fights beside you. You are not a casualty. You are a catalyst. When you pray, light pierces regions unseen. When you worship, chains you cannot see begin to fall. Every tear shed in surrender becomes a weapon in heaven's arsenal. You are part of a kingdom that wages war not with swords, but with surrender, not with anger, but with truth. Think of yourself as a lighthouse standing against a storm. The waves crash, the wind screams, yet your light still burns. That is what your faith looks like to heaven, a signal of hope for others lost in the dark. But even a lighthouse needs fuel to keep shining. Without oil, even the strongest beacon fades. These words, these messages you hear, are the oil reminders that your flame matters, and you can help keep that flame alive. Not only for yourself, but for others. Every time you like this message, it's like adding a drop of oil to the light. It pushes the glow farther into the digital night, allowing someone else who feels forgotten to find their way home. Every share becomes a torch passed along the walls of the fortress, spreading illumination into corners that would otherwise remain dark. When you subscribe, you build a rhythm with heaven's voice, ensuring that the messages meant for your growth find you in time. And if you feel stirred to go further, to partner in keeping this light burning, your donation becomes more than currency. It becomes a declaration that you believe the flame must not go out. Think of it as tending the sacred fire on the altar. Each offering, no matter the size, becomes a spark that keeps the message alive. You are not giving to a person, you are sustaining a call. The unseen war needs soldiers of faith and stewards of light. Every act of generosity becomes armor for another. Someone across the world, right now, is waiting for the very word that set you free. When you sow into this message, you become part of the divine logistics, heaven's way of ensuring that the word reaches every heart that needs it. Do not underestimate how sacred these simple actions are. In the economy of heaven, no click, no share, no gift is wasted. Each one echoes in eternity. Each one becomes a shout of defiance against darkness, saying, The light will not die here. Chosen one, you are not alone in this battle. You stand among countless warriors who fight with faith instead of fear. The very act of listening now is warfare. Your attention is a weapon, your agreement is a shield. The kingdom advances every time you refuse to retreat into silence. So keep your flame alive. Feed it with faith. Water it with worship. And protect it through connection. The war in the heavenlies may rage, but you were born for this. You carry the light of the one who already won. Every act of unity, every like, every share, every gift is a whisper to the dark, the chosen still stand. You are not the victim of the battle. You are its victory made visible. Keep shining, keep building, and keep believing. For though the war is unseen, its outcome is certain, and heaven has already written your name on the side of the winning army. You have carried weight that few could see, pressures that words could never fully describe. While others watched you smile, heaven watched you bleed quietly through your obedience. The journey you've walked has not been wasted. Every tear, every heartbreak, every quiet surrender has been recorded in eternity. The very things that broke you are becoming the foundation upon which God will now build your strength. This is the mystery of divine transformation. The fragments of your past become the fabric of your future. Chosen one, the weight you've been under was not meant to crush you, but to crown you. The greater the call, the heavier the molding. You were not buried, you were planted. What looked like darkness was not death, it was depth. The soil of suffering has been nurturing the roots of glory. And now, even though you may still feel the ache of the past, heaven is turning pain into power, wounds into wisdom, and scars into signs of victory. As it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. There is something sacred about that phrase, weight of glory. It means that not one moment of your pain was random. It all counted. Every affliction, every delay, every time you were misunderstood, it all carried eternal purpose. You were being prepared to handle the magnitude of divine responsibility without breaking. If glory has a weight, it must first have a carrier strong enough to bear it. That's what this refining has been about. God trusting you with something eternal. The world measures strength by success, but heaven measures it by surrender. The true giants of faith are those who refuse to curse God in the cave, who sang in prisons, who stood when standing cost everything. You are among them now. The weight of glory does not rest on the comfortable, it rests on the chosen. You carry something holy precisely because you did not quit when quitting would have been easier. Think about it, the moments that should have destroyed you became the moments that defined you. The betrayals that were meant to silence you taught you discernment. The loneliness that seemed unbearable became the womb of intimacy with God. You were learning to hear Him without the noise, to trust Him without proof, to love Him without reward. These are not small lessons, they are sacred qualifications. And now, as the dust settles, heaven begins to reveal what it was all for. The pain carved capacity into your heart. It stretched your compassion, deepened your wisdom, and gave you language to heal others. You cannot minister to wounds you've never carried. You cannot comfort from theory, only from experience. That is why the weight you bore was necessary. It was heaven's way of preparing you to lift others. When you speak now, Your words will carry authority, not because of education or eloquence, but because they were born in fire. When you look at others who are struggling, compassion will move you instead of judgment, because you remember what it was like to walk through the valley. Every ounce of pain became oil. Every struggle became anointing. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what God did through it. There is a certain fragrance that only broken vessels carry, the fragrance of authenticity. People can sense it even before you speak. They can feel that you've walked with God in the dark. That is what makes your presence heavy with peace. You no longer have to prove your worth. Your scars already tell your story. And yet, do not mistake healing for perfection. The marks remain, not as reminders of shame, but as trophies of grace. They are proof that the light was stronger. They whisper to others, "If I survived, you can too." You have become living testimony, a walking sanctuary where others can encounter hope. Chosen one, there will be moments ahead when the memory of your pain resurfaces. Don't resent it. Let it remind you of how far you've come. Let it anchor your gratitude. Glory is not about forgetting the struggle, it's about finding purpose in it. The very things that once felt like curses are becoming catalysts for miracles. You will see people healed by the same faith that once sustained you. You will speak life into others with the same words heaven used to lift you. You will walk through doors you once thought were closed forever. And when you do, you will know it was all worth it. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every time you wondered if God still saw you, it all converges into this revelation. He was not punishing you, He was preparing you. The weight of glory is both beautiful and serious. It means you cannot return to lightness, to shallow living, to meaningless pursuits. Once you have carried heaven's presence, you cannot live as though you have not. You are different now, marked by endurance, strengthened by suffering, radiant with wisdom. So walk with quiet confidence. You no longer need to chase validation. The evidence of divine favor rests on your very being. The people who once doubted you will see that God was indeed with you all along. But your vindication will not come through revenge, it will come through radiance. The heaviness you feel sometimes is not sadness, it's the residue of glory resting on your shoulders. Carry it with reverence. Let your life preach what your words never could, that beauty truly rises from ashes, that God wastes nothing, that every tear becomes testimony. For now, let this truth settle. Deep within, the pain did not break you, it built you. You are walking proof that the human heart, once surrendered to divine hands, becomes stronger than any storm it has survived. There are moments when heaven does not merely speak, it confirms. You have heard messages before, but this one feels different. Doesn't it? It settles into your bones, not as information, but as revelation. It's like déjà vu of the Spirit. You recognize this truth, even if you can't explain why. That's because it's not new, it's remembered. Your soul has known this voice before you were born. What you feel stirring now is prophetic confirmation. You prayed for a sign, and this is it. You asked for clarity, and heaven responded. The confirmation doesn't always come through thunder. Sometimes it comes through alignment. Things begin to connect. Doors open that logic cannot explain, and you feel a peace that makes no earthly sense. When God confirms something, the atmosphere around you shifts. The impossible begins to organize itself around your obedience. The ancient prophet once wrote about such moments. as it is declared in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 7, "Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets." Chosen one. Think back over the past few days, maybe even hours. Haven't there been moments that made you stop and think, this feels like more than coincidence? The conversation that echoed what you've been praying about. The post you stumbled on that spoke directly to your fear. The dream that wouldn't leave your mind. These are not random, they are divine fingerprints. Subtle and sacred, guiding you toward what's next. You have been asking, Lord, is this really you? And heaven is answering now, not through new instructions, but through confirmation of the ones you already received. God rarely repeats himself because his first word is perfect. But when he sends confirmation, it is mercy, not repetition. He is saying, I love you too much to let you miss this. Every sign you've been seeing is heaven's way of saying, I meant what I said. You may have doubted the vision because it seemed too big for you, too far beyond what you could manage. But what God starts, he finishes. The confirmation around you right now is evidence that the next phase is ready to begin. When divine confirmation comes, it demands two things: recognition and response. Recognition means acknowledging that it's not chance. Response means aligning your steps with it. The moment you recognize God's hand, obedience must follow. Confirmation without action is like rain on unplanted soil. It nourishes nothing. Maybe this word has found you at a crossroads again, and you've been praying, God, give me a sign if I should move forward. Here it is, the tug you feel in your chest, that warmth spreading through your spirit that is the signature of divine affirmation. Heaven is saying, yes, this is the way. Walk in it. The peace that comes with confirmation is different from comfort. Comfort says, stay where you are. Peace says, go, for I am with you. When God confirms something, he doesn't always make it easy, but he makes it certain. The doors may still require courage to walk through, but you will know they were carved by heaven's hand. Remember, confirmation often arrives disguised as repetition. The same message from different sources. The same verse. The same phrase. The same number appearing again and again. These are not coincidences. They are divine echoes. God is a communicator. And when something matters deeply, he surrounds you with reminders until you can no longer ignore them. You might be thinking, but what if I'm imagining it? The enemy's greatest strategy is not to silence God's voice, it's to make you doubt it. But deep down, you already know the truth, the voice that brings peace. Conviction and alignment never comes from confusion. God confirms what he intends to bless. This confirmation is heaven's way of saying, the delay did not cancel the promise. You are closer than you think. What was once invisible is about to take form. The waiting season is not wasted. It has been the gestation of something divine. The labor pains you feel now are not the end. They are proof that birth is near. So when you see the signs, when another door opens, when another word confirms what you've carried, don't shrink back. Move with confidence. Heaven has spoken twice because the matter is established. You don't need more proof. You need more faith. And if this message resonates in your spirit, if you know without a doubt that this is not random, that this is your divine confirmation, then let heaven see your acknowledgement. Comment the number 555 below. a prophetic declaration that you have received the sign and are stepping into grace-aligned movement. That number represents transition, divine change, and the unfolding of what was hidden. When you type it, you are agreeing with heaven's timing. This is your confirmation, not coincidence. You are not lost, you are aligned. The whisper has become a witness, and heaven itself bears record of your yes. The next step is yours. Move, and watch the impossible rearrange itself to make room for you. There comes a time when the chosen must face the sacred paradox, the crown and the cross. Two symbols that seem to contradict. Yet in the kingdom of heaven, they are inseparable. You cannot wear one without carrying the other. To rule with Christ is first to suffer with him. To hold the scepter of authority is first to bear the weight of surrender. The cross breaks you, the crown reveals you. Together, they complete you. You have been walking through both, though you may not have realized it. The crushing seasons, the betrayals, the isolation, the rejection, they were your cross. And even though you felt stripped, diminished, forgotten, you were being shaped for glory. For in the divine order, the cross always precedes the crown. Before elevation, there must be endurance. Before honor, there must be humility. God cannot place gold on a head that refuses to bow. The Apostle Paul wrote it clearly in his second letter to Timothy. Chapter 2, verse 12, "If we suffer, we shall also reign with him." That single sentence carries the entire logic of heaven. The world seeks crowns without crosses, success without sacrifice, recognition without refinement. But in the kingdom, promotion is born in pain. Every chosen one must drink from the cup of surrender before wearing the robe of glory. The cross does not just symbolize death, it represents the death of self. The end of the false identity you once clung to. Chosen one. You may think that you are being punished, but what feels like crucifixion is really coronation in disguise. The moments when you are misunderstood, overlooked, or wounded are not evidence of divine neglect. They are preparation for divine responsibility. God allows pressure not to break you, but to prove you. Every nail driven through your plans is securing the structure of your purpose. When Christ carried his cross, he carried it publicly, bleeding under the weight of what would later become redemption. You too have carried burdens in the open, visible struggles. Public pain, seasons where everyone could see your suffering, but few understood its purpose. Yet just as the cross was never the end of his story, neither will it be the end of yours. Every humiliation you've endured is a seed planted in eternity, and resurrection is its inevitable harvest. There is power in learning to see your cross as your classroom. Pain teaches what comfort never could. It teaches endurance, empathy, and the kind of wisdom that cannot be borrowed. Each wound refines your discernment. Each loss enlarges your compassion. You become a leader not by avoiding the cross, but by surviving it. Do not resent the seasons of struggle. They are the royal training grounds of heaven. The kings and queens of the Spirit are not crowned on stages, they are crowned in secret, in nights of weeping, in prayers that no one hears but God. Those are the moments when the anointing becomes real, when calling transforms from concept to covenant. The crown, when it comes, does not erase the cross, it redeems it. The same wounds that once made you weep will one day shine like jewels of wisdom. People will look at your life and see glory, but you will know that every ounce of glory came through surrender. The cross purifies your motives so that when the crown rests on your head, it will not corrupt your heart. You may not have realized it, but the cross has been sculpting your spirit into the shape of royalty. Each burden carried, each tear shed, has been chiseling pride away until only humility remains. And in that humility, God can safely pour authority. For the crown is not about power, it is about service. The true mark of a king or queen in the spirit is the willingness to wash feet, to forgive quickly, to love deeply even after being wounded. Chosen one, the enemy wanted you to despise the process. He wanted you to believe the cross was proof of God's absence, but it was proof of his trust. He knew you would not quit under pressure. He knew the weight you carried would produce a strength that could not be faked. You are carrying your cross not because you are weak, but because you are destined to reign. There will come a day when you stand at the other side of the pain and see it all clearly. You will thank God for every no, every delay, every betrayal, every loss. You will understand that each nail was necessary, that each fall brought you closer to resurrection. The cross is heavy, yes, but so is the crown. Only those who endure one can handle the other. So, lift your eyes from the ground. The path of suffering you've walked is paved with glory yet unseen. The blood, the tears, the silence, they have written a story heaven delights in. You are not dying, you are being transformed. The cross you've carried has been shaping your posture for the crown that waits ahead. And when that crown is finally placed upon you, when the purpose becomes clear and the weight turns to wonder, you will realize that you were never alone on the road to Calvary. The same hands that carried his cross were carrying yours. There comes a point in every chosen life when God begins to separate what is holy from what is merely familiar. It is the season of divine separation, not born of cruelty, but of calling. It feels like loss, yet it is protection. The hands that once comforted you begin to release you. The voices that once understood you grow silent. The rooms that once fit you start to feel too small. That ache of loneliness you feel, it is not abandonment, it is alignment. Heaven is pruning the unnecessary so that purpose can finally breathe. Separation is one of the most misunderstood mercies of God. When he begins to move people, habits, and opportunities out of your life, it rarely looks like blessing. It feels like rejection, but it's really redirection. God cannot take you where he intends to if you insist on dragging what he already released. Every elevation requires elimination. Every new chapter demands a closing of the last. As it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17, "Come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord." Those words are not about isolation for pride's sake. They are about preservation for purpose. You are being set apart, not because you are better, but because you are being built differently. Some connections were only meant to carry you to the edge of destiny, not into it. When God says, "Come out," he is not just moving you away from people, he is moving you toward himself. Chosen one, think back on the recent shifts in your life, the sudden distance, the unexpected endings, the conversations that seemed to fade mid-sentence. All of them were divine choreography. Heaven is gentle with its removals, but firm in its intention. The pruning may feel personal, but it's always purposeful. You cannot carry dead weight into living destiny. There are seasons when God hides you again, even after he has revealed you. Because exposure without depth leads to collapse. You may have wondered why certain doors that once swung open easily now remain shut. It's because God refuses to let you settle for imitation access. He knows that premature exposure can corrupt pure purpose. You are being repositioned for longevity, not applause. It hurts, doesn't it, to be misunderstood? To watch people walk away while you still hold love for them. But understand this, the same God who removes also restores. What leaves your life is never greater than what will come in its place. You are being emptied so that glory can fill you without mixture. Every goodbye, though painful, makes room for a greater grace. You are in a holy isolation, one designed not to punish, but to purify. God often hides his treasures in solitude. Moses found his call in a wilderness. David found his identity in the fields, alone with sheep. Even Jesus withdrew often to lonely places to pray. Separation precedes revelation. When the noise fades, the voice of God becomes unmistakable. It is in this quiet that your spirit sharpens. You begin to see who truly walked with you out of love and who walked with you out of convenience. You learn to stop chasing validation, to stop confusing attachment for loyalty. The people who belong to your next season will find you without manipulation. Divine connections require no convincing. And though the pruning feels brutal, it's only the gardener's care. He cuts only what hinders growth. What you perceive as loss is actually God clearing the soil of your life for new roots. You are entering a phase of divine clarity where every remaining connection will carry purpose, not pretense. In this sacred separation, you are being stripped of distraction. The Spirit is teaching you to walk light, free from unnecessary weight. You may not realize it, but your heart is expanding. The capacity to love, to serve, to forgive, it all deepens in solitude. You are being made whole, healed from dependency on applause, refined into one who can stand alone with God and still shine. When you emerge from this, you will not be bitter, you will be brilliant. The very things that once made you feel unwanted will become proof that you were chosen. The isolation you once feared will become the silence where you found yourself again. You will walk lighter, speak clearer, love deeper. So do not rush this separation. Let heaven finish its sorting work. Every person still standing beside you after the storm is part of your permanent circle. Every relationship that faded under pressure was never meant to cross the threshold. God is not taking away, He is tailoring. He is sculpting your environment to fit your assignment. You will soon understand that this season was not about loss, it was about alignment. You are being fine-tuned to resonate with heaven's frequency. Those who cannot hear that sound are being moved gently aside. For they cannot walk where you are going. One day soon, you will thank God for the goodbyes. You will bless the very exits that once broke your heart, because you will see that every separation was actually a summons, a call to rise higher, to walk closer, to live purer. You are not being left behind. You are being set apart. And there is a vast difference between the two. Can you feel it, the tremor of awakening echoing through your spirit? It is not just inspiration, it is resurrection. Something long asleep within you is stirring, stretching, remembering what it was made for. Heaven is sounding a trumpet, and its notes vibrate inside your soul. You, chosen one, are being summoned to rise. The world has grown dim. Hearts have grown cold, and yet light begins to flicker again in you. You are the evidence that heaven still intervenes in the affairs of earth. The sound you hear is not random emotion, it is the divine alarm of destiny. The time for silence is over. This is the sound of awakening. As it is written in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 14, "Awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light." That command is not metaphorical, it is miraculous. It means you can rise even from what once buried you. It means the ashes of your past can still ignite into flame. The same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is calling your spirit now. This is not about starting over, it is about starting alive. You have carried gifts that have been dormant, songs that were silenced by fear, visions that you tucked away because the world wasn't ready. But heaven is ready. The trumpet of awakening does not sound when it's convenient, it sounds when it's critical. The shaking around you, the restlessness you feel, the sense that something must change, these are not accidents. They are heaven's reminder that your silence is costing lives. Someone's breakthrough is attached to your obedience. The world does not need another echo, it needs your voice, your testimony, your art, your kindness, your intercession. They are divine instruments waiting to be played again. You were never meant to be background music. You are a trumpet of clarity in a generation addicted to noise. When you speak, heaven listens. When you move, darkness trembles. Your existence itself is warfare against despair. And yet, as you awaken, know this: flames do not sustain themselves without fuel. Every message that rekindles you, every word that stirs your faith, is part of a great bonfire of purpose. Each spark travels farther when more hands feed the flame. That is where unity becomes power. When you like this message, it is not mere interaction, it is acknowledgement. It is your way of saying, I hear the trumpet, and I choose to awaken. That single act sends the light farther across the digital horizon, guiding another soul who scrolls in silence, searching for hope. When you share, you scatter seeds of awakening into places you may never reach in person. Think of it as opening windows in a house long closed, letting light rush into rooms of despair. You never know whose heart will breathe again because you dared to press share. When you subscribe, you are choosing continuity over coincidence. You are building rhythm with heaven's reminders. It's like setting an altar that will not grow cold, returning again and again to the flame that refines your spirit. You stay connected to the current of anointing, ensuring that when new words of fire are released, you are there to catch them. And if your heart feels led, if you sense the gentle pull to go deeper, your donation becomes something sacred. It is not a transaction, it is transformation. Think of it as water poured onto thirsty soil. Every gift, no matter the size, nourishes the roots of this ministry, helping the message reach farther, shine brighter, and endure longer. You are not giving to something, you are giving through it. You are helping carry the torch across the dark fields of the world, ensuring that no chosen one walks alone. This is what partnership looks like in the spirit. Some speak, others sustain, all awaken. Every act of generosity becomes a spark that travels farther than sight can measure. You may never know the names of those your offering will reach, but heaven does. And one day, when the story of your obedience is told, you will see how your light multiplied in places you never imagined. So, if this message has touched that quiet place in your heart, the place that remembers you were born for more, do not let it end here. Feed the flame. Engage with it. Respond to it. Comment your reflection, your gratitude, your revelation. Let your words become part of the awakening chorus that heaven is composing right now. Because the sound of awakening is not a solo, it is a symphony. And the moment you respond, the music grows louder. Together, the chosen rise, their voices like waves of light sweeping across a weary world. This is your hour. Rise, speak, shine, and let the world remember that the darkness never wins when even one flame chooses to burn. There are seasons when heaven moves quietly, like a painter working before dawn. You may not hear the brush strokes, but when the light returns, the landscape of your life is transformed. That is what is happening now. The remnant is rising not with noise, but with certainty. They are the ones who have been hidden in humility, refined in silence, and marked by fire. You, chosen one, are among them. The return of the remnant is not about crowds, it is about covenant. It is not about platforms, but purity. The true remnant does not seek applause, they seek alignment. They have been through the shaking, survived the fire, endured the silence, and still believe. These are not the loud ones, not the self-proclaimed prophets of their own glory. They are the quiet intercessors, the unseen builders, the steadfast hearts who kept the flame alive when others let theirs die out. You may not even realize the transformation that has taken place in you. What once wounded you now strengthens you. The places where you bled have become sources of healing for others. The rejection that once made you question your worth now serves as proof that you were never meant to blend in. Heaven has been preparing you, refining your motives, recalibrating your vision. You are not the same as before. You are the refined version of who you were always meant to be. As it was written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 37, verse 31, the remnant that are escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. Those words define your current chapter. You are taking root downward so you can bear fruit upward. This process may not look glamorous, but it is glorious. The deeper the roots go, the higher the branches can reach. Hidden growth always precedes visible impact. You have been in the soil of obscurity, unseen but not forgotten. God was developing depth so that your fruit would last. Chosen one. This season is not about noise, it's about nourishment. The remnant knows that revival does not begin in crowds but in closets. It begins in hearts that refuse to compromise, in voices that choose truth even when silence would be safer. You have been called to be one of those voices, not through shouting but through steadfastness. You have walked through wilderness and discovered that survival itself can be sacred. You have learned how to find water in barren lands, how to worship when tears blurred your sight, how to stay faithful when nothing seemed to move. Those lessons were not wasted. They are your qualifications for leadership in this next wave of awakening. The remnant does not emerge untested, they emerge undefeated. The remnant understands timing. They do not rush doors open, nor do they chase applause. They know that the same God who hid them will reveal them when the time is right. Until then, they move quietly, strategically, like roots weaving unseen beneath the surface. The power of the remnant is not in their numbers, it's in their depth. And you, chosen one, are part of that depth. You may feel small, but your obedience ripples through eternity. You may feel isolated, but you are never alone. Every act of integrity, every whispered prayer, every unseen sacrifice is part of heaven's rebuilding plan for a generation. The world may mock the faithful, but history always remembers the remnant. Do not despise the days of obscurity. The hidden years are sacred. They are heaven's workshop. While the world celebrates visibility, God invests in invisibility. He hides his most precious treasures until they are ready to carry the weight of destiny without collapsing. That is why your unveiling has taken time, because endurance must precede exposure. You will know the remnant not by their words, but by their wounds. They carry grace because they have wrestled with grief. They move with authority because they have walked through fire. They speak with compassion because they know what it costs to be crushed. These are the ones heaven trusts with influence, the ones who can handle power without pride, visibility without vanity, leadership without losing love. The return of the remnant will not look like revival posters or performances. It will look like purity returning to pulpits, forgiveness breaking families free, unity dissolving division. It will look like hearts fully surrendered, eyes clear of compromise, voices rising in truth again. The remnant is not a movement, it is a manifestation of mercy. It is heaven's way of saying, I still have a people. And when the remnant rises, the world will notice not because of their volume, but because of their vibration. Their presence shifts atmospheres. Their faith disrupts darkness. Their love disarms evil. They walk into places where hope has died and resurrect it with one word, one prayer, one act of grace. You are one of them. The world may not yet recognize it, but heaven does. You are marked, preserved, and positioned. What you carry is rare, and that is why your road has been rough. But now, the wilderness is ending. The hidden roots are breaking through the soil. The fruit of your faithfulness is beginning to show. Stand tall, chosen one. You are not a leftover, you are a living prophecy. You are the proof that even when the world gives up, God never does. The remnant has returned, and through you, heaven is about to breathe again. And now you stand in the silence before the final call. Everything that could be said has been spoken. Everything that could be shaken has been shaken. The air feels heavy, holy, as if heaven itself has paused for one last moment of mercy. You can sense it, the closing of a door that has stood open far longer than it should have. This is the final call before the door closes. The presence around you is not angry, it is sorrowful. It is the ache of a father who has waited, pleaded, and warned, still hoping his children will return before the last light fades. Mercy has lingered like the last glow of sunset, painting the horizon with color even as darkness approaches. Yet every sunset eventually meets its night. Grace is not eternal in opportunity, it is eternal in nature. But its invitation is bound by time. Chosen one, you have felt this pull for a while, the whisper, the conviction, the gentle unrest. It wasn't anxiety, it was heaven knocking. Every sermon, every sign, every sacred interruption was an echo of divine patience saying, come home. But patience, though vast, has a boundary. There is a moment when silence becomes the final word. The first book of the Scriptures tells us why this moment matters, as it was recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 3, "My spirit shall not always strive with man." Those words sound severe, yet they are drenched in love. They mean that God will not force himself into a heart that continually rejects his call. He will strive, pursue, convict, but he will not violate free will. Every heart must choose its master, and every delay edges that choice closer to permanence. This final call is not about fear, it's about awareness. You are living in the narrowing of mercy's window. The world grows louder, colder, more proud of rebellion. And still, the Spirit whispers, still, he offers one more chance, one more day, one more breath. But even eternity must draw its line. Think of Noah. For 120 years, he built what no one believed in. He preached a message that the world mocked. The ark's door stood open, silent but ready. While rain clouds gathered unseen beyond the horizon, they laughed, called him foolish, until the first drop fell. By the time they realized the truth, the door had already shut, not locked by Noah's hand, but by God's. It was not judgment that closed it, it was justice, fulfilling mercy's last offer. You, too, stand before an unseen ark, an opportunity to step into obedience before the flood of consequence begins. The knocking you feel is not from outside, it's from within. The Spirit who once pleaded softly now stands at the threshold of decision. Every heartbeat is an invitation. Every breath is borrowed grace. This is not the time to play with destiny. The decisions you make now echo into forever. The road of almost obedience leads nowhere. The door of partial surrender opens to nothing. The Spirit of God will not linger where he is continually resisted. The longer you delay, the quieter conviction becomes, not because God's power fades, but because your heart hardens. That is the real danger, not wrath, but numbness. When you can no longer feel the pull of heaven, you are already adrift. The door is not yet closed, but the hinges are moving. This is the hour to remember who you are and whose you are. Heaven does not plead with the unworthy, it pleads with the loved. You are loved enough to be warned, loved enough to be awakened, loved enough for the Creator of galaxies to interrupt your ordinary life one last time. If you could see what heaven sees, you would fall to your knees. You would see the angels stationed beside your path, still holding back what could have destroyed you. You would see the threads of mercy woven through your mistakes. You would see how close grace has been, how often you walked away, and how faithfully it followed. This is that moment. The stillness between light and shadow. The last echo before silence. The hand of mercy still stretches forward. But time will not wait forever. There comes a day when the knocking stops. Not out of anger, but completion. God's patience is perfect, but it is not infinite in opportunity. When the door closes, it will not slam, it will seal, quietly, irrevocably, and all that will remain is what was chosen. Those who stepped inside will find safety. Those who lingered too long will realize that opportunity, once past, cannot be prayed back into being. Chosen one. Do not let that be your story. The door is still open. The light still spills across the threshold. But the shadow is stretching longer, and the sound of heaven's final call hums through the air like the last note of a fading song. The decision is yours now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, heaven waits in silence, hoping to record one more yes before the door closes. Beloved chosen one, you have reached the end of this message, but not the end of your journey. What began as a whisper has become a roar within your spirit. You have walked through fire, shaking, silence, and surrender. You have faced the crossroads and heard heaven's call. And now, as you stand at the edge of this final page, you are not who you were when you began. You are awakened. The words that found you were never meant to entertain. They were meant to transform. They were heaven's invitation to rise, to remember, to return. Every sentence was a step toward the revelation that your life carries divine purpose, that you were chosen long before you knew it. Now, take a breath. Feel that quiet peace settling over you. That's the presence of God confirming that you are exactly where you need to be. You have heard, and you have understood. This is not the end. This is your beginning. And as you move forward, keep the flame alive. When you like this message, you're not simply pressing a button, you're letting heaven know. I receive this word. When you share, you are becoming a messenger yourself, passing light into someone else's darkness. There's someone out there scrolling through their storm right now, waiting for the word that you just carried. Be the bridge for them. When you subscribe, you're choosing consistency with the voice that has called you higher. It's saying, I won't drift again. I want to keep growing. Each new word released is a reminder that God is not finished with you yet. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Share what part of this message pierced your heart. What line felt like it was written just for you? Your story might be the spark that ignites another heart to awaken. This space has become more than words. It's a gathering of light bearers. Together, we keep the flame burning. Together, we remind the world that hope is not lost. So, rise, chosen one, carry this fire forward. Speak truth, love deeply, walk boldly. Heaven smiles upon your yes.